Hello, welcome back to Drawing with Chris. Today, in this little tutorial, we're going to be looking at the eye. You can draw two if you want, but I'm just going to draw one. There's a few things I want you to consider when you're drawing your eye. Now, when we're drawing faces or cartoons or whatever, sometimes we just draw a little line or a dot for an eye, and that's cool. You can draw whatever you want. But I think in this tutorial, I want to make it obvious that the eye is actually a ball, and it's obviously a sphere. And obviously a sphere is a 3D object, so I'm just going to lightly shade it like it's a 3D object. Just really lightly. Stay loose, don't get too precious. Now, eyelids vary in all shapes and forms. I'm just going to do a few little lines here. Flat ones, very curved ones. That's totally up to you, but I'd recommend looking in the mirror, having a look at your eye and just looking at the shapes it makes. I'm going to draw kind of a real looking eye. Nice little shape there, almost like a knife. And then I'm going to throw in some of the creases of the eyelids, upper and lower. Again, you don't have to trace the circular part of the eye for these wrinkles. That was just there to start the drawing. Keep looking in that mirror. And now you can just throw in some shadow where you think it fits. I think one of the main things about drawing a real eye is all about shadow. It's all about where the light hits all the little wrinkles and the grooves and the reflections. So it will really help you to understand more aspects of shading and drawing shadows onto 3D objects. There is a tutorial about that, by the way. I'll just go in a bit heavier with a dark pencil now, making my key lines. Obviously those little scratches there would be where your wrinkles would go if you've got any. If you don't, then lucky you, I guess. A few wrinkles under there. I'm going to leave that little pizza slice, and that's where the reflective light's going to hit. Again, you can look in the mirror and the light that's reflecting off your eye might look a little different, but it's just a generic shape. Now I'm going to gently colour all the iris in. Getting those edges. Remembering that corner of the eye, that's where your tear duct is. Remembering it's a 3D object, so a bit of shading in there. That just highlights the idea that there's a ball in there. You get what I mean? Add a little bit more shadow. Creates a bit more depth. I'm just going to quickly draw a really simplified eyelid and where the planes would go if you flatten them out. So you'd have a darker side, a mid-tone side, and a light side. It just gives you an idea of how light would wrap around the 3D faces of the object. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Just trying to help. Again, just fiddling around now with tiny bits of shadow and shading, just to make it all bounce out and make it look a little bit more 3D. Now I'll go back into that pupil and get it all nice and dark, remembering to dodge that little pizza slice shape. Now I'm just going to shade in from the edge of the iris into the middle. I'll just draw a little example here. So there's a pupil, and there's a dodgy circle around it. Looks like a frog spawn actually. And then I'm just gently shading inwards, because the iris isn't a flat shape either. That actually concaves inwards. So there's many shadows in there, but we're not going to tackle all those in this little tutorial. So if you look at your eye in the mirror, you'll notice the edge of your iris is darker, and it goes light and then into your pupil. It's really easy to play with eyes, and if you're ever feeling a doodly mood, I recommend just tackling loads of eyes because you can really mess about with shadow and shade. It's good fun. I'm going to throw some eyelashes in. Now you got to remember directions of eyelashes. Some of them are going to be looking straight at you, and some of them are going to be going away to the side. So here's just a really quick reference. Your eyelashes should follow those arrows and in between. And remember, your eyelashes get smaller to the side, so the long ones will be in the middle and they'll just fan out and get shorter and shorter. Okay, so now I'm basically going to cover exactly the same again. Kind of just because I love drawing eyes, but more so you can follow me and just copy what I'm doing. Pause it whenever you need to. Find and keep looking to see if there's anything new that I'm drawing that you haven't noticed. I'm keeping this nice and loose just so you can get used to all the shapes and the shadows and the lines. Keep looking in the mirror and keep observing everything. The shape of your eyelid can sometimes replicate, the shape of a leaf, or like I said before, a knife edge, depending on what kind of expression you want to throw in there. I'm going to put a little bit of background music on now, so you don't have to listen to me talking so much. Just try and enjoy drawing your eye or eyes for the next couple of minutes. Stay loose and enjoy it. Cool. Okay, so slowly coming to the end of this eye. What you're looking at now is me layering up lots of different shadows and shading on the iris just to create that extra level of detail. It's really simple to do. You just got to plonk it in the right place. Like I said, just keep looking at your eyeball and your iris and you'll see what I mean. You can create a really simple effect just by overlapping shadow and texture. Sticking them wonky eyelashes that we learned how to do before. Just throwing a little reflection of one there too. Okay, last but not least, I'm just really quickly doing 3 little eyes here that show different expressions. So I'm going to do one that's kind of a snidey, sneaky, maybe even angry looking eye. Using the same principles we looked at before, throwing the eyeball in there, messing around with shadow, keeping it nice and loose. So that's kind of mischievous, angry, moody. Nice thin opening of the eye. This one, eyes wide open like horror movie style, or surprised. So the eyelid will be stretched, eyebrow up. You can nearly see the full ball of the eye as well. And I think that looks really fun as well. It'll give you a chance to put some nice shading on the actual eyeball itself. Remembering to keep that reflection part of the eye. You leave that out. And this one's even simpler. This one's a closed eye, sleeping eye. But remember, that line where the eye would be shut wouldn't be flat. It would be slightly curved, because remember, the eye is not flat. It's a 3D object. And that's where your shading will have to play in. Remember, play with your shading. And that's a wrap for this one. I hope you've enjoyed drawing a bunch of eyes. I hope you've learned something new and remembered to work on your shading. Really big thank you again to Fred Alders and Creative Lancashire. I hope everyone is doing okay out there, being safe and being creative. Until next time, see you later.